Hello and welcome. In this lesson, we're going to show you how to create a timesheet from start to finish. So I'm in PowerApps. So I'm going to create a blank app. I'm going to choose the blank canvas app and give the app a name. I'm going to hit create. All right, so now we're in the PowerApps Studio. The first thing I'm going to do is change the screen background color. All right, let's add a label. We'll call it timesheet. Let's make it bold. All right, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create another label. And this label is going to display the current date. So I'm gonna go to the text property and put in this formula. So it's text, and then in parentheses, the now function, and it's gonna format using the full day of the week, the date, the month, and the year. So you can see right here, Sunday, January 1st, 2023. Let's make that font 16. All right. Now I'm going to insert a button. Let's change the text to add a line. And when I select this button, what I want to do is I want to create a collection. So in the on select property of the button, I'm creating a collection called timesheet lines. I'm going to go to play the app, and I'm going to press the add a line button just once. Okay, so that's just going to create the collection. So you can see here, if you go to settings, collections, we have our timesheet lines collection created. Now I'm going to insert a vertical gallery. Let's make it blank. Move it up some right here. Looks good. So how this works is inside of this gallery, you see in the items property, we're going to refer to that collection, which is called timesheet lines. Right? So as we start to put objects in here, you're going to put them in a row, and then we can press the add a line button. It's going to add rows to our lines in our collection. You'll see what I'm talking about as we start to build it. Now I'm going to insert another label. Let's call this week. I'll just copy this. Change this one. We'll call this employee. Actually, this is going to be select the employee because we're going to have a drop down for this. This is going to be supervisor. Center this, center this, center this. Copy this label. It's going to be select the billing type. Copy this label. So now we're going to put let me get rid of this for right now. I'm going to select this label, copy it, put it here. I'm going to change it to select the work week. Um, let's insert a drop down. No, combo box or a drop down. We're going to insert a drop down. All right, so in this drop down, I'm going to connect to a SharePoint list. Go to add data. It's going to be connectors, SharePoint. looking for TBL calendar SharePoint list. So that's what this is. I have a SharePoint list called TBL underscore calendar that has these 3 work weeks. So I'm just connecting that to our app. So when I select the drop down, I need to refer to that SharePoint list. So TBL underscore calendar under the items property. And if I go to value, select the work week. So that first work week is 1/2/2023 to 1/7/2023. That's what shows up here in our drop down. And we should have the rest, and we do. Let me move this down a little. Start gallery there. Okay, so I'm going to rename some of these objects just so it's clear. So this is going to be called work week drop down. I'm going to create some labels here for the days of the week. Now I'm going to have a formula here for each one. So for the days of the week, it's going to start on Monday. So in the text property of this label, it's going to say Monday, and it's going to have that date for Monday appear in the label. So there's a formula to do that. So if I expand this label, you'll see just going to make this a little smaller. So we have Monday, January 2nd, 2023. I'm simply going to copy this formula. So for Tuesday, change the label. Tuesday, and I'm going to put a +1 so it shows the date for Tuesday, which is 1/3/2023. See how that works? So of course, Wednesday, it's going to be +2, and so on. We'll just stop at Friday. That should be +4. And then we're going to have a label for the total. Total. All right. It looks good. Okay, if you have any questions, you can type them in the chat as we go along. So now that we have that, now this is the nice thing about this, what we just did, is these formulas are dynamic, meaning that I can come in here, I can select, let's say, week 2, and the dates change automatically because I had a formula in here. So I selected week 3, and we have the dates for week 3. So let's go back to week 1. Now we have the dates for week 1. All right. So we're going to need to add our controls in our gallery now. So I'm going to select inside the gallery. I'm going to insert a label. And in this formula here, I want the work week to appear on the drop down, the work week number. So the formula for that right here, just doing a lookup on the TBO_calendar, which is that SharePoint list, and getting the work week number from the selected drop down choice. Center that. So that's week 1. So again, we change this, we get week 2, we get week 3, right? Let's move this up some. All right, so let's continue to build the controls in the gallery. I'm going to, again, go inside of the gallery, and I'm going to get a drop down. All right, so now we need to connect to another SharePoint list. Let's go to connectors, SharePoint. This time it's going to be the employee. So the employee, see, it's under site contents, employee. So we have these 6 employees in this SharePoint list. So in the items property of the dropdown, I'm going to refer to the employee SharePoint list. Now you notice it shows the city. So we need to change that so the value looks at the employee name, which is right here. So we should have those 6 employees, and we do. All right. Now I think we have a supervisor. Yeah, we have a supervisor column, so we can use that same SharePoint list. Let's insert another label. We have to go inside the gallery, insert a label. We're going to do another lookup to look up the supervisor name of that employee. So we need to rename this. We're going to call this dropdown employee time card dropdown, right? And so our formula is going to look at the employee SharePoint list and match the employee name that's in that employee list to the employee name that's selected in the dropdown, and return the supervisor's name. And that's what we have here. So when Barry Washington is selected, you're going to get Jake Hamilton, because Jake Hamilton is Barry Washington's supervisor. If I choose Gordon Mitchell, we get Travis Knight as a supervisor, which is right here. See how that works? So I'm just doing a lookup, getting the employee's supervisor's name. All right, moving along. Let's go inside the gallery again. This time we're going to insert a drop down. Let me just copy this. It's easier. All right, this is going to be for the billing type. So we go to Site Contents, TBO_billing. We have 5 billing types. So we need to click to that SharePoint list like we did with these other ones. Here it is, TBO_billing, connect. Change the items property of this drop down to TBO_billing. Right, and you see that the billing types appear in the drop down, right? Okay. Now let's add the labels for the days of the week. So again, we need to be inside the gallery. Go to text label. So this will be for Monday. We're going to put hours in. Actually, instead of doing a text label, let's do text input. Let's choose that. Of course, we're going to remove text out of here. We can just copy this. Next one here. If you have any questions, you can always type it in the chat. Let's see here. For this one, you can use a label for the total. Let's move this. So now we need to rename these. So the first one's going to be called Monday hours. This will be called Tuesday hours. Thursday hours and Friday hours. Key that you rename these labels so when we start creating the formulas, it all makes more sense. All right, so we have these renamed. Now we have a label here for a total, and the formula for that is going to be we need to change this. We're just doing Monday through Friday. This is the formula for the total hours. Just going to total up the hours for Monday through Friday and round it to 2 decimal places. Center that. So let's test it. So I put 5 here, 6, see out here, 7.5. It rounds it to 1 decimal place. Right? Let's take that out for right now. Okay, so now if we add a line, the next line is down here. So we can adjust the spacing. So we got our gallery here selected. Just going to drag this up. So as we add lines, it'll look like a timesheet. Now we need a clear button. So I'm going to insert a button. Call it clear. And in the on select property of the clear button, we have a formula called clear. And it's just going to clear the collection that we have for the gallery, which is timesheet lines. So when I press this button, it should clear everything, and it does. Okay, so now let's, what do we want to do now? I think we're ready to save our information. So I'm going to insert looking for the save icon. It's right here. All right, so the name of our gallery right now is called Gallery 1. We want to change the name, so we're going to call it Timesheet Gallery. All right. So in the select the save icon, I want to be able to save this to a SharePoint list. SharePoint list, I've already created. It's called TBL underscore time card, and it has these columns here. So week, employee, the hours for each day, and the total hours. So I'm going to create a patch function on the onSelect property of the save icon. Something doesn't exist. Billing type. What is the name of this? Let's go back. We're going to rename this billing type and call it bill to dropdown. What other error do we have here? Bill to does not exist. So we need to create that column in here. Bill to says already exists. So where is it? Let me go to classic view. All right, let me look inside of here. Bill to. There it is. Interesting. We probably need to connect to that SharePoint list. So let's do that. What's called TBL time card. Still getting an error message. Supervisor does not match the expected type. Okay. What's the name of this? See, this is why it's important to name these controls. Call this supervisor input. We don't have Saturday and Sunday. We can remove that. This is called total hours. There we go. See, once we rename these objects, now we eliminated the errors that we had in our patch function. So let me zoom in and show you this. So we created a patch function. Now I'm using a for all. because what I want to do is I want to save that for all. Is going to allow us to save all of the items in our gallery, not just the first record. So if we were to add more records, I'll just show you. Let's just put some information in here. I press save. It should save all three records at the same time and put it in our SharePoint list. Let's change this back to classic view. You see right here? And you see where it saved all three records. It didn't capture the week number. So let's add that. What is this called? Call it week number. Need to add that to our patch statement. The week. Text. Huh. We need to let's refresh this. It should be text. Maybe I need to take that out. Okay, it's out. So I'm gonna delete these records. Let's test it again. This time we have the week numbers. Let's hit save. Never seen that message before. Network error. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, it doesn't like this still. It's called week. Huh. And this is called week number. So don't understand. Well, we'll just come back to that at a later point. We know that this part works. Data's been saved. We do a refresh. There's the data. All right, so now let's see if we can create a report based on the data that we've saved in our SharePoint list. So I'm going to use Power Automate. So I'm going to go to Power Automate here. So I'm going to hit create. Go to Instant Cloud Flow. Say timesheet export. Let's do PowerApps trigger, because we're going to have a button that's going to execute our flow. So hit create. Let's make sure it's the V2 PowerApps trigger, this one. Okay. So I'm going to choose Get Items, which is an action for SharePoint. I'm going to select the site address and the list name, which is TBO underscore time card. So we're going to get the items out of this list that we've saved. All right. New step. Let's go to create a CSV table. Right there. In the from, we're going to choose value from dynamic content. If we go to advanced options, we're going to select custom from the columns. I'm going to choose, type in employee name. Just say employee. The value is going to be employee. We'll have supervisor. Supervisor didn't get saved. Okay, we'll skip that for right now. Let's put Monday through Friday. Actually, let's go ahead and see if we can add the supervisor. So that was called supervisor input. Supervisor input. Let me see something here. Let's go to list settings. Let's create a view. Some things are not shown, that's why. We need a name for the view, so we'll just call it So now we have our bill to and our supervisor shown up here. So we'll put supervisor, bill to, and we'll put in Monday through Friday. Okay, so we have that. Let's create a new step. Send an email. All right, I'm gonna send an email to myself. All right, timesheet report. Body, I'll say attached is the timesheet report. For the show advanced options, we can give the attachment a name. Let's say it's called timesheet report.csv. In the contents, we're going to choose output. All right. So now we have our flow. It's called timesheet export. Let's save it. Let's go back to Power Apps. So we're going to connect to our flow that we just created. Add a flow. It's called what's it called? Timesheet export. Oh, something went wrong. And make sure we save it. Okay, now it's saved. So now it should show up in here. Don't see it. Refresh. There we go. Timesheet export. There it is. Huh, finally. All right. So that's the flow that we just created. I'm gonna insert a button. Put it right here. Rename the label or export. All right. So now we have the button selected. In the on select property, I'm going to say timesheet export.run. It should run our report. So if we go to Outlook, we should have an email. Here it is. And there's our information exported from our SharePoint list right here. So now let's show you how to filter this list. Let's go back to our flow. So you can see when we ran it, it was successful. I'm going to edit this. Well, let's go in here. Edit. All right, so in the get items action, we can use a filter query to filter down on specific records in our SharePoint list. So let's take a look at this. Let's say if I wanted just the records that had Barry Richards as a supervisor, what I could do is I could say supervisor, which is the name of a column, EQ, which is short for equals, and I could put the name that I want to grab, Barry Richards, in single quotes, just like that. Supervisor, EQ, and in single quotes, Barry Richards. So let's save that. So now when we go back to Power Apps and press the export button, we should only get that one record. Huh. There it is. See, Barry Richards shows up only because that's what our filter was based on. Now, since we know how to do that, let me show you one other thing. We can we go inside our gallery, the name of that control for the supervisor, remember it was called supervisor input. Okay. So we can set up a parameter. Let's go back to our flow. I'm going to call this supervisor. And in the get items, instead of hard coding in the supervisor name, I could choose the parameter that I just created called supervisor. We still need to put it in single quotes. So it'll look like this, supervisor EQ, and in single quotes, the parameter name, which is also called supervisor. All right. So now actually, that's not going to work because these are all different. Let's go back. Let's change this back. Sorry about that. We'll delete this for now. Let's take this out. So now it's going to export all the records like we had before. So let's select week 2. Change some of these. Save. Hit export. So before you hit export, make sure it's saved. So now we have 6 records. Let's go to export. Something went wrong here. I need to save this. Make sure I refresh the flow. Now it should export. There it is. And here's our information from our SharePoint list right here.